The ultimate goal, and they've said this at the Bank of International Settlements, is to issue something into your bank. You get money just magically is thrown in there because of whatever UBI, or you're working for a company that's linked into CBDCs, and it's all interlinked with your credit cards. The ultimate goal would be if they decided, oh, we wanted to reduce the carbon footprint of everybody, we'll put you on a meat quota. And the ultimate control freak dream would be you go to the cash register with your meat, and the person there can't ring it up because it's all linked, and they know that you've already exceeded your quota, so they turn you down because they can't even transact it. They can't even, the person there couldn't even ring it up for you.
It's been at least a decade since the United States government and most of its counterparts worldwide embarked on the war on cash, a set of policies designed to minimize or eliminate the use of paper currency. According to the official narrative, the main aim of this effort is to shift transactions to mediums that leave a paper trail, thereby drastically reducing or eliminating criminal activities. But the war of cash seems to have taken a very dark turn. It's no longer about the convenience and safety for which it was promoted in the early days. Now, it's about carbon credits, digital IDs, CBDCs, and the promise of absolute power in the hands of a few. Over the past few years, we've seen a joint effort by central banks to introduce and enforce central bank digital currencies, a digital form of a country's fiat currency, regulated and controlled by the central bank. While CBDCs have been touted as the ultimate solution to the world's many financial and economic challenges, experts warn that there is much more to the story than we are being told. According to Edward Dowd, author, analyst, and former portfolio manager at BlackRock, CBDCs will usher in a new, dark era for the human race. This era will be characterized by the complete subjugation of humanity. It will be the beginning of the "you'll own nothing and you'll be happy" era, as our governments will be able to monitor every bit of our purchases and cut us off at will because they have the power to. This potential for government control over our financial activities is a chilling prospect that demands our attention. CBDCs will give politicians the absolute tool to crush everyone who opposes their policies simply by cutting them off the financial system. We can all see the precedent that has been set in China, where the digital yuan is being used by almost 300 million people in over 200 scenarios, including public transit, stimulus payments, and e-commerce. If the dictatorial Chinese Communist Party so much as deems a person out of line, they could easily cut them off from all financial services. This is not a hypothetical scenario. There have already been too many examples of that happening, even in life-threatening situations. We will present clips from Ed's recent interview with Natalie Brunel, as the former BlackRock portfolio manager discusses CBDCs, the war on cash, and the planned consolidation of regional US banks into the too-big-to-fail banks. Please watch, like, and share this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Thanks, and enjoy the video.
The MMT, I believe that's all magical thinking, but it's a narrative that they're floating so they can justify universal basic income at some point. And I believe in this next downturn that's coming, that's when we're going to see the issuance of the CBDC as a solution and universal basic income in the maximum amount of fear and economic turmoil. So imagine the economy crashes, a lot of people put out of work, there's a lot of fear. So you issue a CBDC and a universal basic income, and they're tied together. So they won't be able to, make it universal, but they'll, the carrot and the stick. Oh, you don't have a job, we'll give you a $40,000 a year annual income, but it's going to be a CBDC and we're going to manage it. That's, I think, how they're going to try to introduce it. That's if I was an evil genius sitting in a room drinking scotch and smoking a cigar, that's how I'd do it. I don't think it's like a bunch of evil men in a room drinking scotch. I'm kind of joking about that, but the system has different disparate groups that are self-interested that can profit from this. And the Fed wants to consolidate banking to issue a CBDC. It's easier to get a CBDC through if you have 6 national banks rather than 800. And they want to get it to be like Canada, where there's only 6 or 7 major banks. And that's why we're going to see the implosion of the regional banks. The implosion of the regional banks the die was already thrown when they raised interest rates from 0 to 5.5% in 12 months. Mm-hmm. And you basically put underwater 14 years worth of bonds on their balance sheets. And most people don't understand bond math. And when you go from 0 to 5%, it crushes longer dated maturities by 30 to 40%. Just straight math. That's just bond duration math. Forget the credit associated with that. So owning a safe treasury bond, a 30-year bond, you've already lost 30% of your value with this 5.5% interest rate hike. I still think we're going to see shotgun marriages, and we may not get down to 6, but we'll get down to, there'll be about half of the regionals will be gone in my estimation, and or gobbled up by the bigger ones. To your point on, are they going to issue the CBDC that we all think they're going to issue in the downturn? They'll call it something else, but it'll be tied to a UBI, I think. So not the whole population won't be on a CBDC, but certain sectors of the populace will be sucked into a quasi-slave system, and then they'll try to just grow it over time.
Can you talk a little bit about the mechanics of a CBDC and what that experience would actually be for the average person?
This is assuming they link everything together. So obviously there's a lot of work they have to do between now and then, and it's a lot of technical work. But the ultimate goal, and they've said this at the Bank of International Settlements, is to issue something into your bank. You get money just magically is thrown in there because of whatever, UBI, or you're working for a company that's linked into CBDCs, and it's all interlinked with your credit cards, and you have to get rid of cash for this to work. If you still have cash, you can still hide what you're spending your money on. That's why there's this big push to get rid of cash. And personally, I spend cash on when I go out into the world, I try to use cash for everything. I'm 57. My millennial friends that I hang out with on the island, they love using their Apple Pay. They're addicted to it. And I always encourage them to use cash. So you need to get rid of cash and then link everything. So the ultimate goal would be, if they decided, oh, we wanted to reduce the carbon footprint of everybody, we'll put you on a meat quota. And the ultimate control freak dream would be, you go to the cash register with your meat, and the person there can't ring it up because it's all linked, and they know that you've already exceeded your quota, so they turn you down because they can't even transact it. They can't even, the person there couldn't even ring it up for you. So that's the kind of control down to the transaction level, where your transactions are controlled by faceless AI, what have you.
Apart from the obvious threat of absolute control in the hands of the very few, experts have warned that CBDCs will be far easier for our governments to devalue and mint out of thin air. If CBDCs are accepted by the population, the press of a few buttons will be all that's needed to create more and more units until the entire system is on its way to another massive collapse. Economic stability will be shot to hell. Central banks and their powerful private backers can simply not be trusted with that much power. Additionally, we would all be exposing even the most intimate aspects of our lives to the government and cyber criminals. What happens if a person is deemed persona non grata because they liked the wrong post on Twitter or watched the wrong video on YouTube? Will they still be allowed to buy groceries, or will they be suspended from accessing their money until further notice? The risks are innumerable. Yet, that's exactly where we are headed. Experts have repeatedly warned that it will be the natural conclusion of the declining global monetary system. Let's get back to the video.
Today, Bloomberg just reported 46% of small businesses can't pay their rent. And that's a number we haven't seen since the depths of the COVID lockdowns. So there's something going on where we have these economic numbers, but people kind of know that the feeling on the ground is super bad. So our economic cycle indicators kind of bottomed out in October of 23, started rising, but they're still showing a recession. So we're thinking they're going to roll over again. The problem we have is the government's juicing this economy before the election. It's an election year. The Fed is put interest rate on pause, and they're tapering their quantitative tightening. So they're doing less of it. So they're injecting money into the system as best they can, even though money supply year-over-year growth is still buried in a negative growth rate, which we haven't seen since the 30s. And last year, we had some banking failures right out of the chute in March. And the Fed, at the time, I thought the Fed was going to have to cut interest rates, or maybe they would be able to manage it. And the Bank Term Funding Program that they instituted put a finger in the dike. So that kind of delayed things. That program ended on March 11th of this year. And we saw a bank failure, I think, a couple of weeks ago, a little small bank failure. We're going to see more of those. There's articles coming out now where hundreds of banks could be at risk of failing. So the bank failures can go one of two ways. They can control the implosion and force marriages, and it could be orderly, or they lose control and it goes fast. So far, they've done a good job of it being orderly, but the problem right now is we're coming into an election year. The real economy is tanking, and once the bond markets and the equity markets figure this out, we'll probably see an equity implosion of 30 to 50%. It's been delayed. We were calling for it at the end of last year. We still think it's coming. If you look at the internals of the equity markets, it's basically 7 stocks. Small cap stocks have not gone anywhere near a new all-time high. And for this market to be truly a new bull market, you need to see participation from every stock. There's no way around it. There's a period of austerity coming. And what I mean by that is to fix the system, we've been living on borrowed time, and we're going to have to reset the system. So that means that we're going to have to make hard choices. And that's going to cause an economic downturn. But on the other side of it, without this funny money reinflating, you'll see for the Fed, there was a deflationary event in, I think, 1919. And it was very bad, but very quick. And a lot of bad businesses went bankrupt. And that's what you need. We have all these zombie companies. They're not productive. We need to destroy. Bankruptcy is not necessarily a bad thing. Restructure, and then the economy will recover. So I wouldn't be the most popular president or Fed chair. I'd be like, we need austerity. We need a reset, but a reset where we're not imposing our social credit scores. There is a reset coming. It's a question of how we manage it, and there's no way around it. We can't keep spending like we're spending on these jobs. A lot of the jobs that have been created over the last year are government jobs. They produce nothing into the economy. I can make a case they're actually detracting from the economy because it's regulatory stuff. This is unsustainable. We need to have some sort of adults in the room, and there are none at the moment at all. The adults are absent, and like that viral tweet, this person doesn't even know how the sausage is made. I saw Treasury Secretary Yellen being interviewed at a congressional testimony by Senator Ron Johnson. She didn't even know what the budget projections were. He knew them, but she didn't. The CBO, she had to flip pages, and she didn't even know how much debt we were going to have in 5 years. This is not rocket science.
According to several legendary investors and commentators in the precious metal space, the ruling class needs a big crisis. One that will be big enough to make people more willing to accept and use CBDCs. The experts believe this crisis will be the mother of all crises, with a combination of social, political, and economic collapse. Rafi Farber describes this event as the financial endgame that would allow central banks to restart the financial system and forcefully introduce CBDCs. Even a cursory look at recent events in the United States will reveal just how close we are to this endgame. From the massive debts to the rapidly widening political divide, everything suggests that we are heading for some really uncertain times ahead. We are all moving from paper money to easily controlled digital currencies. We will have no say in the matter. All we can do to protect ourselves and our loved ones now is to reduce our dependence on the system. Please share your thoughts on the video in the comments section below. Also, ensure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and activate the notifications bell for more videos. Thanks for watching.